Hey everybody, before we get started, I just want to remind you that this episode is brought to you by our patrons like Ahaiga Comics and Drago66. If you like what we do and want to see us do more, consider supporting us on Patreon. You can get access to episodes early and lots of other goodies, and it would really help us out. Thanks for your support, everybody.
Thank you.
喜べ少年
That's right, everybody. Welcome back to Let's Talk FGO, your one-stop shop for all FGO needs. I'm pretty sure I've said that before, but that's what we are, so hey, here we are.
Welcome.
I am one of your hosts, Magical Gentleman Flip-Flops and Shorts Mask, aka Omega. With me, as always, is my co-host, Magical Gentleman Cargo Pants Mask, aka Lucky.
How do you know I wear cargo pants a lot?
Because you talk about it. You've mentioned that fact to me before.
Oh man, it must have been a long time ago. But yes, I fucking love cargo pants. It lets me keep all my figurines close to heart.
Listen, mine like a steel trap. Knowledge of everything. Alright.
Anyway, everyone, I hope you are enjoying Fate Grand Order, aka Unlimited Maho Shoujo. And while we here at Studio Omega like to bring you the latest and FGO-related news and memes, we will be talking about current and future events for both the JP and EM version of the game. So anyone not wanting spoilers should go demand a testament welfare servant.
Mm-hmm. That sets the tone of today's episode, I think. But
Yeah.
first, we have
Gimme.
one very important question. Where the fuck is Run?
Real talk, we don't care about him anymore because we're gonna go make a buddy cop drama set in Mages of War, specifically in the Africa analog.
Yes,
Martha's
I
there for that.
I rolled randomly and I condemned you guys to an Africa campaign in the desert.
Yep. I'm okay with this.
Oh, you could have fun.
Flex those role-playing muscles.
Alright, well let's move into the show and check in with everybody's favorite Kohai, Mesh.
先輩先輩起きてください
So this is probably a little bit on us, but we were fishing for Protips as usual. But the best our community
I'm
can
gonna
come
take
up
this
with.
first. I want to take this first one because
Okay.
I feel like this one applies to me more than anybody else. So, our first pro tip is the best our community can come up with is don't drunk roll. This is where everyone just gives a significant side eye to me and my tendency to roll vicariously while inebriated. But to the rest of everyone, it might not be super applicable because a big chunk of our audience is 21 and down, judging by polling. Who knows? So let us instead just advocate good general spending and rolling habits. Like, you see what I do? Like, you see what I do and how I roll? Don't do that.
No.
That's bad. That's bad civilization.
Maybe give
The
yourself
throne
a
of heroes
budget.
frowns upon you.
Figure out, what your acceptable spending limit is. Stay within your budget. Roll responsibly. Don't get mad that your friends rolled something and spend way more money than you need to. All right, let's move into our second tip. This is just a more general one, but NP battery is good. Level those skills. We'll be talking about how important this is later. But yeah, just NP
Yes.
charge, reliable NP charge. It's real good. Okay, let's move into Records from the Throne, our regular achievement topic. I'm first up today.
Yep.
And I will say I've protected Chloe's smile. Editor Lucky, I know what you usually do for this, but I feel like we're gonna get in trouble, so maybe you want to blur that a little?
I'll see what I can do. I know there's a mosaic function.
Also, I have done 100 missions.
Yeah.
Event complete.
For my side, for records, my tickets were blessed as I was able to pull Medea Lily. And while not spending a ridiculous amount of money, I was able to pull Queen Med. Also, Kuro, aka Chloe, and Ilya's smile is Protect. If I am doing this editing, that would be blurred because, boy howdy, every time I look at that art, I'm like, I'm just gonna call the police on myself. I know we said we weren't gonna make FBI jokes, but goddamn.
I mean, there's a
Like,
difference between making a joke and then being like, hey, listen, YouTube, this is rated T for teen in the Google store. Okay, it's fine. Please don't hurt my channel. That's an entirely different sort of thing.
Yeah. Also, I completed 100 out of 100 missions. I'm not gonna lie, I loved how like the last 5 missions were basically all like you just had to beat Testament and just all 5 of them complete. And I was just like, yes.
Yep.
Very satisfying.
It is.
Now I'm like, have to farm. Yay.
Well, hopefully we'll get something out of it.
Favorite thing.
The event will be over in a couple days.
Mm.
Me personally, I'm okay with the downtime because, like I said, I really need to catch back up on my girls' frontline.
Oh god, I haven't played my missions. Shit!
Mm.
Oh god, do I want to play FGO while recording or Girls Front? I'm gonna play Girls Front. I'll be right back.
Literally, he's gonna be right back.
And I'm back!
Okay.
So, I'm gonna bring it on to our next segment. Not all the world's evil, but damn close. This is one for me. As everyone know, I've recently just got myself a new phone. It's nice and current. It's a Samsung Galaxy S9, which I bought for, you know, all the powerful capabilities and things I can do, like streaming and recording, so y'all can see my salty ass get real salty about FGO. Unfortunately, I decided I got a 2 new phone because Samsung is now transitioning from SiteSync, which was their service that lets you mirror and stuff before, to Samsung Flow, which only works on Windows 10 and Samsung peripherals. So, because I got an S9, I can't use SiteSync. I think it's like S8 and below. So I have to figure out something else. Unfortunately, third-party programs, they charge a monthly, and they have to do wiggy stuff. Like, I looked into 2. One was called like a Power Resoft. Looked all right, but they wanted me to charge. They wanted to charge me $12.50 to not have a watermark. And I don't know about you, but I don't want no watermarks on my video. The other one, Visor, was a much more reasonable $2.50 a month, but they want you to put your phone into debugging mode, which basically, you know, opens up a bunch of holes in your phone for, you know, fiddly bits. And FGO doesn't like that. It doesn't. You literally cannot run FGO while in debugging mode.
Mm-hmm.
So now I need to, like, I do have a couple of other alternatives, which is basically using the Google record functions or YouTube functions, but I hear those can get a little sketchy at best. So everyone listening out there, if you guys know of any other ways to stream or mirror your phone, please hit us up in the comments below and give me that feedback. The more feedback I get, the more likely it is I can get you more FGO content.
Which is what you're here for, we know. Though, on the subject of content, as we transition to Skelograms, I will say, I did start posting Let's Play Fate Extella. The first one's out. For a Let's Play on our channel, it's fairly decently watched, got some decent engagement, so that's good. I'm looking to record another couple episodes in there. I already have some personal changes that I feel like I want to make, but that's just on me. Alright, let's move into Skelograms then for news. So number 1, as completely expected, Japan hit their 14 million downloads event. It's almost over, so there's no point in saying when it was, but pretty basic stuff. Gives you 7 days of login rewards up to X10 tickets. There's a new Master Missions Extra tab, which gives 10 Saint Quartz every 10 rank up quests you complete. Also, rank up request rewards have been increased to 2 Saint Quartz, which is retroactive, so if you've done a whole bunch of them, there's a whole nother Saint Quartz in it. And remember, this is a future update for North America, so do remember to do your rank ups, because eventually there'll be a shitload of quartz in it. Servant profiles will now have direct links to interludes and rank ups. This is a great quality of life update. There's an extra set of materials in Da Vinci Shop for mana prisms and rare prisms. Basically just, you know how every month there's a new set of stuff? During this download period, there's another month's worth of stuff in there, basically. During this time, rank ups are quarter AP cost, half AP embers, and half QP cost for enhancement, and then double chance of super and great success. Pretty neat. And then lastly, there's the summon banner. It's basically the Summer 2 summon banner. Summer, Artoria, Martha, Mary. So I wrote down here, while the third run of Summer, Artoria, and Friends is good, I'm much more curious what 15 million will be like. So to remind everybody, in Japan anyway, the original 5 million downloads was the Bryn banner, which was a new servant. There was a new Mystic Code, Anniversary Blonde, and then the Heroic Portrait CEs. The 10 million downloads was a Merlin and Artoria banner, and was the free SR ticket, which included Story Locked 4 stars. So 15 million will likely involve a big servant run or rerun and some form of secondary reward, like new Mystic Code, new CEs, maybe new command codes, or free servants. So that's really interesting to me, personally. Like, what are they going to do for that landmark?
It's always interesting to see how they basically have to one-up themselves. Because I mentioned this a few weeks ago, once you set a certain level of expectation, you'll have to constantly meet or exceed that level of expectation, or you risk upsetting a lot of people who feel like they're getting gypped on content.
Mm-hmm. Hell, you'll get people who are getting gypped on content that's not theirs yet upset.
Yeah.
Because once again, we had this discussion with people. We're talking about the 10 million. Like, oh, I wish it was a little bit better for like the ticket and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, that could they could do some better stuff, but in the English release, we should consider ourselves lucky that we get the ticket at all, because we are, by the time we hit what the 10 million downloads event time period is, we're not going to be at 10 million downloads. So we should consider ourselves lucky that they seem like they're not skimping on the rewards for the million downloads events when they come to us. At least as they happen.
Yeah. This is a kind of a relevant topic when we talk about the next news item here.
Yeah, so for Ian, we talked about the Crunchyroll panel last episode. I think it'll be last week because we're slightly delayed in recording this episode, but you never know. But yeah, so we talked about this previously. At the panel, it was announced that Nerofest will be from 9/13 to 9/25. So yes, there is a gap week, as predicted.
And a lot of lead time for the announcement.
Yeah, I was really surprised. I was like, well, I don't know if there's going to be announcements at Crunchyroll, because there should be a week gap between Prisma and Nerofest, but that's like, almost 2 weeks of time at this point of lead up. Which is shocking, because I don't think any of the FGO servers are really good, except maybe I think Korea tells you what you're going to get in the following month, but that's because they're on a super accelerated schedule. So they're like, here's what's happening this month, and it's like 12 things.
Real talk though, this also might be a little bit of a preparatory period, because if I recall correctly, Nerofest is a challenge based with ridiculous difficulty.
Yeah.
So who knows? Albert might be giving NA players maybe a chance to better prepare themselves.
True. They could,
with this,
because I think the social media even talks about the exhibition matches.
Yeah, because that's where I said from what I've heard, like, this Nerofest is going to be super difficult.
Yeah, where at least the core stuff isn't, but the exhibition matches, which are all for extra summon tickets and stuff, those are serious challenges. And we'll be talking about that next week.
This might be partially a move just to let people use Clairvoyance EX to do their research and start leveling servants in the downtime that we have. I would like to take that optimistic look at it, personally.
Yeah. And also they did launch the Nerofest social media campaign, get up to 3 Saint Courts. They have once again upped the interactions, but they did give us 2 weeks to catch it, so it should be okay. Shout out to on the scene reporter Gudako Chow, a member of our Discord, who was at the panel listening to questions. Basically what we got out of it, because Justin Albert was there, it was a localization panel, so he did a little bit of news and then he took questions, basically. So we got lots of confirmation that Aniplex US is very limited in what they can do and has to go through the main Aniplex and Delightworks back in Japan. Just multiple answers to questions where, well, I have to talk to Japan about that. It's not... So, let's phrase it this way. We've said before, don't bother taking shots at Albert, he can't really do anything. Now it's starting to sound like don't even bother taking shots at Aniplex US, because they don't actually do anything either. They are just the localization arm. They are the English arm that does things in English for main Anipex parent company in Japan and Delightworks in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
That unfortunately does mean there's a little bit of a communications barrier there, but yes, no. Focus your questions, concerns, and complaints in the appropriate direction. Because apparently even the Aniplex staff, and not just Albert, but they're familiar with like feedback from social media and stuff, but they aren't allowed to comment or like do interactions without the go-ahead from the homeland, as it were.
Well, to be fair, like a lot of companies really crack down on social media especially from their employees, because anything an employee says on
well, yeah, I don't even know if it's like personal. I think it's like just even with the core accounts, like they're like, because you don't see like the FGO English account being really chatty with people, which some social media accounts for companies are. I think that's just because there's a lot of lag involved, because before they can make any comments, they have to go back to Japan, which makes sense because it is my understanding that in general Japan is a lot stricter about audience interaction. That's just how their business culture is over there. Like, we've talked about how, for instance, some panels which have had Japanese guests weren't allowed to stream or record, like the one you went to, Lucky.
Yeah.
Because they had a Japanese guest, and Japanese talent agencies are basically super protective of their clients. Like, no unauthorized photography, no unauthorized recordings, anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
He did say when asked about it, he would talk to Japan about localizing arcade, which is cool. That's cool that that's a thing that he'll talk to. He's also said that he's working with them on boss subtitles.
Yeah.
This wasn't in my notes, but if I'm remembering this right, I believe it was said that, hey, Lucky, so you know how servants would pop up in Part 2 even when you completed a structure of Summer? Right? Like they would say a little thing?
Yeah.
If I'm understanding the quote right, that wasn't in any other version of the game. In all other versions of Summer Part 2, nothing happened. So specifically for us, there was a little bit of extra coding to get a little bit of extra dialogue in, which I think was just stuff left over. So that's interesting if that's how that was quoted to me. Like I said, I didn't write this down in the notes, but I've heard that a couple times that there are actually some unique tweaks and features we've gotten over here.
That's good.
But yeah, so basically, like, it confirmed a lot of stuff we know about the code base. So it's like they, both the US and Japan arms of Aniplex are interested in certain quality of life updates sooner. It's just they have to make it so the code works, because that's how it works. Is there's a code base restriction. Though that said, we're coming up close to where our version should match with the Japanese version, or start going up past where versions of the core app were changed, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Because our version of the app is based on the version of the game from like 8 million downloads, I want to say, which is after like maybe 1 or 2 chapters in Epic of Remnant. So we're only like 6 to 9 months behind where our app version started, basically. So I'm hoping that means that maybe we can pick up a little as we get a little closer in those version numbers. Also, it does sound a little bit like JP boned over Aniplex US for the anniversary stuff. Like, they dictated that we got a slightly smaller anniversary than others did because there were less interactions, right? They made less of a show out of it, so there was less build up to the stream and stuff, so we got a little bit less quartz, which we talked about extensively. And then there was like hundreds of quartz passed out in Japan's 3rd year, without, I think, warning Aniplex US that they were going big back in Japan. So, whoops. I really feel for the US staff of this game. That's gotta suck.
Like, I'm pretty sure they're pretty sure that they're feeling like they're about to be burned at the stake.
Yeah, they're the ones getting their asses kicked out here, and just didn't do them any favors. But yeah, so that's what we learned from the Crunchyroll Expo panel. I honestly, like, I don't think it was anything new. It's just good to have confirmation that yes, the quality of life is not, limitations are not because they hate us or something stupid like that. Like, it's because they need the app to be in an appropriate version where they can start porting over some of this stuff, which is what was expected. And that the reason why we're not as interactive as you might expect over here is because there's a lot of... At minimum, there's a game of telephone every time, right? Like, you literally have to pick up the red phone, you have to call. How many hours ahead is Japan of us?
Oh, God, it's like, they're almost like a full, like, they're not a full day.
Not a full day,
like,
but they're
the
close.
Like,
the international date line is in the middle of the Pacific, so... Yeah, it's rough. They're like, I want to say like 16 or 18 hours ahead of us, something like that.
Let's see here.
Maybe even more. But they're like...
Japan Standard Time is 16 hours ahead of Pacific Time.
Yeah, okay, so they're like 14 to 16 hours ahead of the US, basically.
Yeah, so like if it's at 1 p.m. here in the Pacific and on the West Coast, it is 5 a.m. the next day.
Yeah,
in Japan.
Right. Which theoretically, obviously it's a Sunday, but theoretically Albert's working in with Aniplex US on the West Coast. If he wants to pick up the phone and call Japan like right now, it would be that time. So
yeah.
This may also be why some of you experience delays, like if you contact support and stuff, because I don't know how much of it has to go to people in Japan somewhere. And just in general, I would say, like, I would be a huge advocate for them to build a little bit better staff base in the US side and handle more problems over here. But I don't know if they're gonna do that, because that just might not be the business culture.
So that would require them, Japan, to loosen the reins a little bit on Aniplex US. I don't know if they'll do that.
Yeah, because unlike all the other servers, which are like licensed out to people in those regions, this is literally they had a sub company, like the parent company contracted their local arm to localize this game.
Yeah.
So it's a little weird. It's different. But we're still going strong. We're still doing good. And like I said, I think Albert's trying for us. Actually, this wasn't in my notes, but Albert related his quote-unquote origin story.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Where apparently he got employed as he is because he wrote a letter to Aniplex US yelling about the subtitles for Unlimited Blade Works. And that's how he ended up in conversation with them and then working with them on translations and localizations and stuff. Which is pretty funny. Alright. Okay, I talked for a long time. Lucky, let's move into Caldea Free Talk, and you take it away for a little bit.
I'm going to take it away for a little bit with Prisma Codes' second impressions. So, I hope by this time, everyone has completed the main story. I hope everyone's got 100 out of 100. If not, get to work. You don't got a lot of time left, and free loot is free loot.
There are
you want that MP5
whole crystallized lures in this event.
Mm-hmm. And MP5 Chloe. And, I'm sorry, after using her a lot, like, goddamn. It's like, I see why people are super hyped for this girl.
Yeah, she real good.
But, majority of our time in the past week has been in the extra quest. Have we mentioned that they are fucking great? Like, this happens basically with every event, but once you get done with the main story, they always do, like, a little bit extra where it's just mostly jokes and gags, and Prisma Codes has followed the same formula to comedic effect. Shin Altzilla. Excuse me. Just excuse me. Altera, please. Just stop. It's hilarious. I can't handle you right now. Going on further, we go into the Magical Gentleman, which basically consists of 4 servants, 2 of you who you automatically know are going to be Blackbeard and Phantom, which have made a Magical Girl Appreciation Alliance. And you're not allowed in because you're a traitor. Probably because you're doing the normie thing and hanging out with a bunch of cute girls, which these other guys just cannot do for very obvious reasons. So very much Bakahatsu. So it's actually really funny is because you basically get pulled back into the reality marble. Blackbeard and Phantom are doing their usual shtick, and you basically have to go kick their asses. Mm-hmm. And they do a little bit of talking when you first meet them. And Magical Gentleman, which is what they're calling themselves, Phantom is mostly okay, except he's still the Phantom of Opera, which means he's a lunatic.
Yeah, so basically he starts out sounding okay, but then they ask him a couple pointed questions, and it's like, We're gonna
least he's not
start
trying to
punching you
hide.
now.
Yep. At least he's honest. Gills was also pretty funny because with his mini categories of both Magical Girls and Jean, he actually makes a really good. I thought he made a really interesting argument. How about like girls with like divine powers would still be magical girls? Because I don't know about you, I like magical girl shows. I really do. I think they're interesting. They are usually light and fluffy and healing, mostly. Sometimes there's an outlier. Goddamn
Also,
Herbert.
we should. It's very easy to say, but the concept of the magical girl show is a very like uniquely Japanese thing.
Mm-hmm. And apparently his mental pollution has gotten pretty bad that everyone is now a Jean to him. There is now a bronze Jean, a purple Jean, faux Jean, in addition to kamikaze Jean.
Yeah,
I would like all these variants, at least in a CE. I think that'd be hilarious.
We'll talk a little bit more about Kamikaze Jean later. We'll talk about Meme of the Week.
So, Blackbeard and Diamond are pretty unrememberable because they're so direct. Blackbeard is Blackbeard. You kind of get used to how Blackbeard is. Like, honestly.
Yeah, he doesn't
He's Blackbeard. He's
break
good,
any
he's
new
low.
ground.
Yeah. It's like he still sets a high level for himself, but that level that's what you expect. It is now the norm.
Well, yeah, and even his pre-raid dialogue goes into that, where like Mash asks you, "There's no point in continuing this conversation, is there?"
Yeah.
Because there isn't. There's no point in talking to him. He's Blackbeard.
Yeah. Diarmid was kind of a loser. Like, like he has definitely tried the story with his love spot, but it's like, goddamn, Diarmid, you're kind of pathetic.
They
Like,
play it real
Gills and
deep.
Yeah, like Gills and Phantom are, crazy. Like, literally, they're fucking lunatics.
Mhm.
And Blackbeard is a goddamn pervert. Diarmid's just pathetic. Like, so rip him.
Yeah. Also rip him
But
because I
then
kicked the shit out of him.
Yeah.
Honestly,
but
like
then you get to,
some people questioned about some of the raids were hard. I didn't find any of the Magical Gentleman raids hard.
I really didn't either, but I wasn't trying to one-turn them like everybody. Like that's what I hear. A lot of people like say they found it hard because they couldn't just like one or two turn them. I was like, I got 15 turns. I'm okay.
Yeah, just relax a little,
Well-
use the damage appropriately. Also, a lot of people I think were trying to be clever and stuff. Fuck that. No. Maeve has plus 50% bonus damage. She gets a shitload of bonus damage for anti-mail. It's a raid, so you stick the Buster CE on her. Find somebody in your support list who's got it because she's out there. That literally solves all your problems. I don't think there's anybody in the raid who is not getting their ass kicked by that.
As I said, like I played the raid like properly. I just used literally all event servants. Even on Diarmid, I brought in Chloe, and I still had an okay time. Oh yeah. So once you basically beat all 4 magical gentlemen, their emotions and wishes combine, and you meet the Shadow from part 1. Combines into Testament, who is basically Ilya wearing a black version of Prisma Cosmos, which basically makes her the what is her name? The Black Grail? I forgot it off the top of my head.
Well, yeah, Black Girl is Justice.
Justice. So basically, she is to Ilya as Justice is to Irie.
Mhm.
And
also, I think they call it in the dialogue when you're like, is it just me or does she look like Ilya? It's like, if I look like, if that's what your ideal magical girl looks like, then yes. And I'm like, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
That's actually a little clever.
I do remember a line that they were like, thank God it wasn't actually Irie showing up like that. I was
Oh
like,
yeah, no,
I like
Chloe is like, I was worried. I thought it was gonna be Mama. Prisma Irie is here or something.
I'm like, I've been okay with that. Like, have you seen Halloween Princess?
Well, I just know from watching Fake Collide, if Irie showed up, she would drive a fucking car through the wall. The absolute
Irie
mad
is
woman.
great Irie is great in Prisma. She is. I fucking love her. And Testament is pretty much just an evil Ilya. She even has kind of like, she's really damn funny.
Yeah. Much like the regular Ilya playable servant has a lot of good facial expressions, so does Testament. She's got like the goofy
there was
crying eyes, the eyes with hearts.
Mm-hmm. There was like I did take several screenshots of conversation, which I'm probably throwing up right about now in no particular order. But there was one, a very solid DM's girlfriend joke in there. It's like, if you guys haven't played tabletops where the DM has brought their girlfriend in, like you just don't know. You just don't know.
And even if you haven't, if you don't like, those are the stories you always hear, right? Like you always hear that guy's stories, and you hear the DM's girlfriend stories.
Yep. Again with the thumping.
Yeah, there was a dramatic gong.
Very.
Sorry. While Lucky is reading this, I'm just sitting here nodding and playing Azure Lane.
I'm reading and playing Girls Frontline. So, also, going back on topic, also this would be one of the times that boss subs would be cool. Testament has her own MP lines for unlimited Prisma Codes, even if it's just a pilot swap of Quintet Viewer. This is probably...
Yeah, I wrote when I wrote these notes, I said, this is definitely an upload for Editor Lucky to insert Testament's NP.
いいからだね。少し借りるわ。好きな願い、好きな欲望に応えてあげる。無限に続く私たちでね。アンリミテッドプリズマコーズ。
I was half about to tell him to fuck off, and then half about, let me see if I can actually find the video of the MP. Like, real talk, like, now that I've beaten Testaments, you can't go back and, like, redo things. You, like, it's lost forever. And so that's why there's a new quality of life update suggestion we got here. Basically, a boss index for all those event bosses. Not even in JP can they replay lines from characters like Testament and Black Grail. To double check, as far as we know.
Yeah, as far as I know, like, they don't... it's not a spoiler to say that Solomon appears in the Master Servant list, the Spirit Origin list, because he does. But other than that, I think there are a couple of big story bosses that do, but, like, event bosses, fuck no. Like, there's literally no way to look up any data about Black Grail, Testament, anything like that.
So thankfully, people on the wiki are on the take about that, and they record the information, but there's no in-game method. And thank you, FGO Wikis, for maintaining that information. We appreciate you so much.
Especially since we started doing graphical enhancement, because Lucky does most of the legwork, but if I see a good asset, I'll, like, snag it and get into him. I was able to find a solid, like... it was actually on the Type Moon Wiki. I don't know where they got it, but they have a fucking beautiful, transparent, large, high-quality image of Testament Sprite, which I was able to put in the thumbnail and give to Lucky to, like... use in the show if he needed.
I don't know, I just might keep it.
So yeah, no, solid.
But let's see, for second impressions, let's see here. Right now I'm basically in the farming session, and I feel like I got maybe a little gypped on farming time. I'm not sure. I feel like I had a lot less time. Because the best farming nodes don't open up until the second part. And you only have, like, what, 5 days to do part 2?
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, I mean, like, so... I feel a little bad about some of the mats, but at the same time, I don't.
Yeah, like, I'm not like actually, I'm more interested in clearing out caster monuments and pieces because.
Oh yeah, that's
like,
right. You got a couple of brand new high level casters, so you'll need that stuff.
Well, not just that, but just in the past couple weeks. Remember, I max ascended Nursery Rhyme.
Oh yeah, so basically you had some of the event servants you worked on before the event, and then you got some more. So yeah, so you're probably right a little low. I can see that. I caught up on monuments for a little bit.
Yeah, so
that was my struggle.
But, like,
with the
a lot
last
of the
event.
mats, I'm not too pulsed about. You know, I'm trying to get this. I'm trying to get the foes. I'm trying to get the embers.
I got the CEs. Obviously, I got all the EXPs cleaned out.
Yeah.
And then I got some of the mats. I got cleaned out enough, but there's some more I could work on. Like, Chloe needs a lot of gears for her skills.
Yeah. Again, I'm like locked up on skill gem. Is Nerofest a lottery this time?
Yes, Nerofest is a lottery. I think it's more mats focused than skill gems focused, but there's still stuff in there. We'll talk about all this next week.
Oh, that'd be useful. Yeah. Free game soon. But again, like I said, I really enjoyed the event. Like, it was like good. The mechanics were lackluster, as I said. It was literally a mashup of two mechanics.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, I don't think they made more than the sum of their parts.
Yeah, they really didn't.
But it was still enjoyable enough, especially with the story. The farming, as I feel like maybe a little gypped. I don't know. Maybe they should have like opened up the part 2 a little bit, like maybe a day or two earlier.
Yeah. If they do a rerun, and everybody's hoping and praying.
Yeah.
Actually, I probably should have mentioned this in news, but supposedly there's rumors from some of the devs that there will be a surprising servant soon. A lot of people are, I don't know why a lot of people are hoping it's Luvia. I don't think so. In general, I'm just like, I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see in a couple days because 14 million is about to end. I mean, personally, I'm kind of hoping they rerun FZ because they haven't yet. That boy Iskander needs his rate ups. But
honestly, I'm hoping they're doing Prisma Causeway 2, and they have Welfare Testament with limited SSR Miyu.
Yeah, no. That's what I was about to say earlier, was also that Prisma could really use a sequel. Maybe a rerun first, but definitely a sequel. And if they do a rerun sometime in there, hopefully they don't make you wait on the Magical Gentleman. It's just, okay, you completed the story. You can immediately at least start grinding the missions to do those raids. Because that was the one thing that slowed me up, was the having to do missions, usually in these new 30 AP nodes, which were not cakewalks necessarily, to, and having to beat them like 10 times, 15 times, to unlock the raid that you then have to run a whole shitload of times too.
It's usually like 6 to 8 times, because unlike the first sense, like each section took 2 fights, like exactly. Like I remember that. It's like, oh, you can actually like calculate how many fights this is gonna take to beat. I'm just thankful that all the raids were 10 AP. Like once I got started on it, I just had to keep up my steady punching of men in face.
All right, I think that about wraps up our impressions of Prisma Codes.
Yeah. 10 out of 10. Would play again.
Yeah.
Probably in like 2 years.
It's going to be at least 2 years. Because the rerun's not out yet.
That's all right. 2.5. They're doing the reruns. It's coming soon. I feel it. I feel it in my soul.
Well, I mean, they finally reran They finally reran Garden of Order, so
yeah.
All right, let's talk about. So you didn't get that 5-star. We could have done this last week, but I feel like we were a little busy. Now is a perfect time to do it. So let's talk about those other servants who are on that banner. I'm going to make things short and say all the casters on this banner have the same caster deck. Quick, Arts, Buster. They have roughly the same NP gain, star weight, and star gen. Rhyme and Helena even have the same HP and attack. They all have Arts NP. The main difference here is the NP effects and what their skills do. So with all that said, let's jump into this. So, Nursery Rhyme, an SR caster. She's got good hit counts for her stats, so will gen NP just fine, and has an A territory creation for Arts Plus. Rhyme has what is a very basic Arts stall type NP. It's an AoE, which does okay damage, and then reduces defense for 3 turns, and then has a chance to reduce charge. She also has an NP interlude, so that's great. Rhyme's third skill, meanwhile, is a combo of NP gain, self-heal, and debuff clear, and then she has a pretty good standard morph to forward up and improve her debuff resistance. Rhyme really doesn't like being debuffed. Her unique use, though, is in her first skill, which is Self-Modification A. We've talked about how great Self-Modification EX is in the past. This is similar. It's a 50% crit strength buff and 600% absorb up, which means that even with her low caster star weight, she will get stars. And basically, this means if you steer her with a star generator, she will, for several turns, crit and do some nasty arts crits, which can then be turned into more NP spam, which is basically the underlying, I think, philosophy of using Rhyme, is you build her NP, you make sure to build her defense and heals or whatever, so she stays alive, you generate stars, she sucks up all the stars, does big arts crits, turns it around into an NP spam, rinse, repeat. All the while you're stalling your enemy. You can even do that back-to-back. You can drop an NP for defense down, and then have her arts crit and then go back to a second NP to finish them off kind of stuff. Just keep that chain going, but she's a caster with one quick card, so she will not be doing any start generation on her own. She needs somebody to do that for her. Jack is actually a really good combo with Rhyme in that respect. So, next is Helena, who is also quite complementary to Rhyme, and in general is a support-type servant. Her hit counts for arts is roughly the same, but her one quick card has an astonishing 6 hits. It's a lot of hits to generate stars. Her first skill is a team 20% NP battery. We talked about at the start of the show, NP batteries are very important. Helen is no different. That's a whole 20% to your entire team. You got a couple K-scopes, even one K-scope, boom. She drops it on your team. Her second skill is 5 stars per turn for 5 turns and has a 55th shot to buff her own NP damage for 80% for 1 turn. The 50% chance to buff her own NP damage, that's mostly Garbo unless you're sticking her with somebody like Oz. What you want is the 5 stars per turn for 5 turns. That's quite a lot of turns where she will guarantee you a bare minimum of stars. If you use her quick card, you can probably generate some more in there. And of course, speaking of really rare CEs, if you happen to have a 20, 30, or 3, she can definitely carry one of those and just top off that star generation. And then her third skill is a 20% buff on all card types for all allies for 3 turns, which is just a great generic support skill. I would argue it's even better than a charisma because that's just damage up. This is all of the effectiveness, so Buster busts better, Arts gens NP better, Quick makes stars better. Very useful for a team buff. And then her NP is an AoE, which ignores defense if you do her interlude, which I believe is out in North America. That can stick defense down, critical rate down, and debuff resist down with overcharge, so all really good, more of that defense down in there. Good to soften up and slow down enemy types. Obviously, as a caster with an AoE, she's not going to do a lot of clinching for enemies, but like I said, definitely soften them up for a good hit. She also has Territory Creation A, and then Item Creation B for her debuffs. Very useful for any NP-driven team comp. If you want to know more, I highly recommend Voice did a video on Helena specifically, which is really good. He talks about a lot of strats you can use her for, so go check that out. Future Lucky, if you can find the thumbnail Voice had for that, that'd be really cool to stick in right there.
That's what I can do.
And then Medea Lily is a healer. That's what she does. Her HP is higher than some SSRs, and she has great hit counts, which offset her slightly lower NP gain. Not that her NP gain matters, because her first skill is Divine Words A, which gives you a whopping maximum of 150% battery. You heard that right, 150%. So you will always definitely fight her NP at least once. And then her second skill is a crazy good team heal, which also removes poison. We're talking like crazy good. I think she even has an interlude or a strengthen for this. Its maximum is like 3k, which is the base for her NP heal. It's nuts. And her last skill makes a target ally heal better, up to doubling the healing they receive. And then her NP has a sweeping team heal, debuff cleanse, and ups debuff resist. Her relevant territory creation is only B, so that's a little weaker. The basic result is Medea Lily will fix anything that ails your team and can heal one target in specific very well. The trade-off is that she's more focused on recovery, unlike Irie's Guts, because that's a common comparison. Irie technically heals less than Medea Lily does, but she has that Guts effect in there, which means that she can keep your team alive against burst damage. Also, Medea Lily has no self-protection. If she gets bursted down, she's done. She can't do anything about that, which means then your healing's gone. So, once again, Voice had another great comparison between the two healer types. I would say, like I said, Medea Lily's great at recovery for slower-paced teams. Her heals will heal the shit out of any damage done to you, remove debuffs, but like I said, against an enemy with burst damage or against particularly fragile servants, not as reliable. And she can't do damage for shit. But her heals are astonishing. And so for my last bullet point, I wrote down that maybe we could talk about Chloe here, but I also didn't write any notes for that, so I figure because she's the welfare, most people, and she's also an event bonus servant, most people are probably using her already.
Yeah.
And obviously she's not a role, she's a welfare for free. But
Yeah,
I figure
if not,
most
we can always
people are familiar with what she's good at. Once again, to shill voice, but also shill ourselves. If you really want some detail in her, check out the video we did with Voice that covers basically all welfare is up to this yearish in JP. We talk at length about how amazing she is, because really, she is very good. Got a lot of great skills. Very useful. Also, I don't know if anybody's complained, but I really like the translation on her third skill. Most places translated as kiss demon before, but kissing freak sounds a lot better in English. Like, calling somebody a kiss demon is it's really try hard in English, right?
Yeah.
But I could genuinely see somebody busting out kissing freak as an insult in English in certain aspects of the country.
Again, props to the LTFGO US localization. They do very good work.
All right, and let's really quick, because we said we'd do this, and it's now September. Let's very quickly step in. Well, maybe not too quickly. We're only needing 45 minutes. But let's step in and do Near Future Observation Lens SHEBA, September 2018 edition. And this is really short. I'm going to try and say this slow enough so that if Editor Lucky wants, he can insert maybe the Japanese banners for some of this stuff in there. But we basically have the whole thing. They announced that Nerofest is coming, but then there's going to be a week gap after Prisma, which will end in a couple days as of this recording. So that'll... the only thing we can say for sure that will probably be is the class-based campaign one. I've talked about these class-based campaigns a lot in Wanted episodes, but basically they are a week of rolling rate-ups on each class, and then one day is with extra. It's probably Assassin, because Assassins. If you're looking for story-locked servants, this can be a good banner for you, otherwise, skip it. There also will probably be half AP story, because we moved around a lot of the half APs in the English version. So I think now is the appropriate time for it. But hey, if they want to throw another half AP out there, I don't mind. Give me more half AP Embers, I don't care.
No, I do care. I care a lot. Gimme.
Actually, yes, no, we'd love it. Honestly, half AP story for people like me and Lucky who play all the story right away. Meaningless. I know there are some people who have not made their way through Camelot yet, so I'm sure they would appreciate it.
Yeah.
Then Nerofest will be on for the time we already illustrated, the 13th to the 25th. This will be a raid-up with Nero and Nero Bride, and also a couple of other Roman servants. We'll do a full pregame breaking down the actual gameplay of that later, but do remember, Lotto Box event. And the challenge quests are hard. After that, or possibly concurrent with it a little bit, depending on how they shake this out, should be whatever our equivalent to 7 million downloads is, because it won't be 7 million downloads. This will tail into October. 7 tickets, it's basically a ticket a day. A Jolter raid up, so those of you who missed her the first time around and didn't quit the game, you can go ahead and get your shot now. Also, this will include Rank Up Quests 5, which is an important one that's got another Amia rank up in there, and it's got a couple of the Coup Boys ranked up, and it's got, for me in particular, it's got Liz's rank up in there, which upgrades her to Sadistic Charisma, which would be great for Team Comp. Really makes Liz as a unit. Also, for those of you who are
using this downtime to clear out some of my rank ups. And
yeah, I know. I wanted to do Carmilla's rank up before Prisma, but I didn't get a chance. Not that it mattered, because there were no fucking riders anyway.
Yeah.
Also, for some people on the lookout, this event will signal the switch from Dragonfang logins to Evil Bones for login rewards, which everybody is super excited for, because goddamn Bones.
Goddamn Bones.
I'll miss Dragonfangs a little, but fuck yeah, Bones.
Spooky, scary skeleton.
Oh, by the way, I hope you guys like that fucking intro, because when we get to October, I'm going to be using that button a lot on the soundboard. Because I fucking love it. Alright. Oh, that reminds me, I was going to make a joke about how I would normally ask... I would either play a sound clip or ask Editor Lucky to insert something from Psy's Gentleman, but we don't want to get the copyright police on us.
No.
Just in your head, imagine. Go watch that music video after you watch the show. Sai, you're welcome for an extra, 1,000 views. That's a joke. Gentleman is, super highly viewed. So next there's not an actual CE or servant spotlight, but I put a note here. It's been a while since we did this, so we're going to ask people for suggestions, because we love feedback. Would you prefer a CE or a servant spotlight? And who are you wanting us to spotlight? What options? Because usually we poll people. Generally we get a lot of feedback for bronzes, so that seems fair.
Yeah.
We've done George, Hans. I think have we done Leonidas? We might have done Leonidas.
I think Leonidas was on a poll. We haven't done them, though.
Okay, so we'll leave him in there. Maybe we can talk about Shakes.
We can also talk about Asterios and how he's a good fluffy boy who's actually very good at defensive tactics.
Yeah. His NP is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So next, we're going to briefly touch on Teach Me Omega Sensei. It's a new month, new Patreon month. So, it's time for me to shill.
Woo.
We're running a poll again. We do this every month, in case you are new here and haven't heard this speech before. Basically, if you're at $5 and up, you can access the poll. We've already got a few votes in. This week, we have 3 questions. What is a noble phantasm? How do servants work? And what is a reality marble? We also are constantly taking suggestions for these types of discussion topics. The last one we did was skills, which was pretty good. I think we turned that into a thing. Hopefully that alleviates some questions, and that's what we always aim for. Mm-hmm. I also want to say on the subject of Patreon stuff, it is a new month. If you are a Patreon, do remember to double-check your Patreon. It's not as pervasive, but they are still having problems with some payments being declined. So be sure to double-check that your payment went through and you're getting all your goodies. As we've said before, I don't want to call anybody out specifically, but there are a couple of people who have been declined, so I want to make sure if you're hearing this, double check your stuff. Patreon should be sending emails to people who are declined automatically, but I like to also, as a creator, talk to the audience and be like, hey, yo, double check. We don't want you to miss out on anything. But
check yourself.
Patreon has said that they're going to try and do more to double check, and they have already. A couple of people who were declined already got back in. I assume because Patreon contacted them or tried the payments again. Yeah, so that's cool. Just keep an eye out for that.
I actually didn't talk about this with Omega, but I'm gonna pitch an idea for story time. So it's something that we want to do more often. It's just the fact that obviously we have time constraints and whether or not we have a story on hand. So I'm gonna throw it out there. Would you guys rather us make a poll out of potential stories that we can tell and you guys can vote on them, or would you just want us kind of to play it by ear? Because I'm pretty sure if me and Omega put our heads together, we can come up with several stories that we want to tell, and we can leave it to you guys to hear us tell them. As I said, I know Omega has a certain storytelling style. I have one. I think a lot of people will enjoy it, but I want to hear from you people. How do you want us to tell you the story?
Mm-hmm. It's a pretty decent amount of master feedback we can get.
Yep.
All right, let's jump into meme of the week. Lucky, I think you were busy through a lot of this discussion, but it was definitely a thing for a brief period on the Discord. So everybody should look up Back at Lisatsuki sometime. It's one of the Type Moon April Fool's jokes. I think it was actually a little gag visual novel that they produced. But we talked about it a lot on the Discord and some of the jokes it makes, and everybody should look it up because it's well, first of all, it's MHX's origin, which is pretty interesting. There's also a lot of concepts in there, that's the origin of the decapitating bunny costume for Shiki as seen on that CE, and a couple of other concepts. It's very interesting and funny. That's where Magical Girl Kamikaze Jean comes from, which is basically the Magical Girl version of Jean, which is pretty funny. There's some other stuff in there. Like I said, definitely look into it. And it's really everything we got in the notes. Wow, we actually made a shorter show for once.
I'm okay with this. You guys might not realize, but we had to delay recording for Lucky's personal reasons. We won't get into that. So a shorter show means less I have to edit, which means I can get it out to you guys faster.
Yep.
But don't worry, we're gonna be ramping up production again as life resumes normalcy, or as close to normalcy as we get.
And also the fact that we're on basically a 3-day weekend, we're gonna use some of the holiday time to like make sure we get a little bit of production in the backlog.
Yeah. I'm
all
sorry
right,
for those who are waiting on my Dead Space playthrough. I'm gonna try and get one up tonight. Question mark.
I'm doing a
But
Wiggly
soon.
Fingers
Soon.
thing.
Yeah.
Wiggly Fingers. And hey, just check out our backlog if you're bored.
Yeah.
All right. So next time on Let's Talk FGO, we're gonna do the Nerofest 2018 pregame. That'll be fun.
Probably gonna be actually, it's probably gonna be really complex. Are we gonna get into like the full exhibition matches and strats?
Maybe not the strats, but we should at least, like we did in lead up to Camelot, we should probably have a dedicated section to warn people, hey, here's what's coming.
Yeah.
Because the exhibition matches are bastards. They suck. Like I've already committed to myself. I'm like, I'm not gonna bust my ass trying to do some of these because they are just fucking hard. Like I will use some cheese strats a little. I'll try, but I'm not. If I miss out on a summon ticket, oh gee, I missed out on a summon ticket. Because tickets are very hit or miss.
That blood oath. You made that blood oath, man. You're gonna want every ticket you can get.
No. I only swore off spending quartz, which I have not. I am continuing to drop tickets on stuff. But like I said, if it's too much of a pain in the ass, a ticket's a ticket. What? I'm gonna get another copy of that fucking stuffed lion, or moded curiouser? Eh.
Hey man, I've gotten Liz, got Hawk, Medea Lily. I think it's like, you never know.
That's what I said. Tickets are very hit or miss.
Yeah. But remember, you miss 100% of you miss 100% of the swings you don't take.
Swing the bat. Have we talked about Fooly Cooly? We did talk about Fooly Cooly on What's Up.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's a big deal for us. Hey, check out What's Up, guys. That's slowly growing an audience, but really, you should, if you like this show for our personality, definitely check it out because that's just all it is us back and forth talking way too long about stuff.
This week was mostly Cyberpunk 2077 and our thoughts on the genre.
Also next week on Let's Talk FGO, Japan's 14 million downloads ends in like 2 days, so they'll be doing something. Whatever the fuck it is, we'll talk about. Supposedly there's a new servant involved, so I raise an eyebrow. All right, well I guess then we should go ahead and do our regular outro for the show if there's nothing else to say. So I'll say this: if you like this episode, give it a like. If you have any comments about any of the many questions we have asked you, leave those in the comment section down below. Always happy to see our comment section when an episode posts.
Yeah.
Always get lots of good feedback and commentary. And it's just a great way to get your voice heard by us. You can also talk to us on our Discord. That link is in the description. Our Discord is really its own beast. That's why we had to get moderators, because we definitely have community members who just go off on their own. But it's really helpful. You can talk to lots of people about FGO stuff, about not FGO stuff. Just really great community we have. And of course, if you are new here and not already, please subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell for notifications, even if you already subscribed, because you honestly never know when we're going to post a video. It's a complete mystery, wrapped in an enigma, wrapped in a sometimes Omega
burrito.
Sleeps a lot. A sleep burrito. Sometimes I sleep like a burrito. And also, like we said at the top of the show, don't forget you can support us on Patreon. You can get access to episodes early and, of course, in the audio format downloadable. And just, in general, it helps us out and you get some stuff out of it. Alright, that's the show. So, I'm gonna turn it off now. This is usually the part where Lucky either leaves me hanging or he says something incredibly funny at the end. Let's see what it is.
Editor Lucky, play that one thing.
マスターさんに頭撫でられるの好き。あ、今度お風呂上がりに髪乾かしてほしいな。